Hey, Ryan, do you like outer space?
More than anything in the world.
Would you? It's not in the world. You're in luck. Would you like some stuff about outer space where you could like learn and have a good time and maybe like look cool while you're doing it?
More than anything in the universe.
Oh, nailed it. You should check out spaceandbeyondbox.com and you should enter their giveaway to win a year's worth of free space stuff.
Gimme.
You can get like sweet Apollo 11 mission patches.
Yes, please.
You can get a moon globe.
Also, yes.
You can get some magazines.
Yep.
You can get a sweet poster about all the parts of the moon that humans have been on.
I'll have two.
All you got to do is go to spaceandbeyondbox.com/giveaway.
Go get it. Do it now.
Also, if you happen to be in Los Angeles or you can get there in the next few hours, tonight, October 30th, Wednesday, we're at the Satellite doing a live show along with our friends Lydia Liza and Ian Abramson. We'd love to see you.
It's not sold out.
It is not. You can still join us. There's time.
It's going to be a Halloween spooktacular, and we want to see you there. There's going to be comedy from Ian Abramson, live music from Lydia Liza, and we're going to do a full live episode of the show at the Satellite, and we'll be doing a fan meet and greet after the show. We'll tell you where that is at the show. We'll meet up with a bar. We'll drink beers together. We'll make jokes about ghosts.
I packed my costume today.
I did not, but I'm excited to see what Spencer's wearing. It's going to be a god dang gas, so we hope we see you there.
Jiminy crickets. What's happening?
What's happening? I just paginate my notes. Sometimes we start the episode with a talk, but this time we don't. We didn't.
The top of a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, I'm higher than the top of a T-Rex. I'm not kidding. Yeah, we stay winning. Traveling out to the West Coast to stay spitting a couple of ghost bars. What up, y'all? It's the What It Podcast. I'm Ryan Copper. That's Spencer Word Davis.
Hi. Welcome. Greetings. Hello. How are you?
You know what, man? I'm pretty good.
Sweet. Are you higher than the top of a Tyrannosaurus Rex?
Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'll never.
You know what? By the time y'all are listening to this, there's a very strong chance that I am.
We'll be in Los Angeles. I can't not hear that sample now without remembering that you thought he said the word Tyrannosaurus Rex right, and I had to point it out to you that it was not. It was incorrect.
Now I'm wondering if I actually thought it was Tyrannosaurus Rex.
This whole time?
Well,
This whole time.
Might have been. Is that a Mandela effect? Have I not known the name of dinosaurs my whole life?
You rewrote it in your mind.
Did I jump timelines in that moment?
And it's always been Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Speaking of the Mandela effect.
Uh-oh.
Our boy Geedis.
You know what he did?
Our Geedis Sabonis.
He kicked him into Geedis. Yeah, man. We're doing my favorite kind of episode this week.
Silly ass mysteries where no one gets hurt?
Yes, but also like an internet mystery caper that requires us to be like deductive investigative journalists. And
does it?
Well,
that's
giving us way too much credit. But
yeah.
like we have to pretend like we have some of those capabilities.
We had to like Google some stuff.
Right.
We had to look at Twitter.
But then the best part for me is that at the end there are still a bunch of open-ended questions to this that are not answered that I feel like we have to talk about and hypothesize around. And I think, most curious to know what our listeners think about some of those questions at the end.
Hell yeah. Do you want to drive today?
I can definitely get us started and
Sick.
like get things moving. Actually, before I start driving on Geedis, I wanted to tell you a quick story.
What's happening?
So you may or may not have noticed that I went blonde recently. So
I noticed. Our listeners probably have not.
Yeah.
We'll post a picture later so you can see Ryan's.
Oh. He had beautiful hair.
Sick. Great Paul. Thrilled. And so as y'all know, I got married last month, or I guess for those of you listening to the show for a while, I got married last month. And thank you very much. And I'd been wanting to bleach my hair out like all summer long, but I didn't want to get my forever photos that were going to last forever in my life with like fully bleached out hair.
See, that's where you goofed. That's where you goofed.
You know, I think I think I'm grateful for it. I think wifey is grateful for it. I think the family is going to be excited that I look like a relatively like more, more, what's the word I'm looking for? More, it's like the self of me that everyone recognizes.
Just know that you've disappointed at least one person.
That's fair. I'm okay with that.
It's me.
That's okay.
I'm the disappointed person.
But I've been trying to do it for a long time, and I've been watching all these like YouTube vids, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to do it yourself. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. And wifey was like, I used to dye my hair all the time. She's like, you want me to dye your hair? I'll dye your hair, no problem.
Okay.
So we got a boxed bleach.
Oh, boy. I mean, your hair is fairly light to start with. You didn't have that far to go.
Right, exactly. And I was like, you know what? I feel pretty good about this. Let's do it. So last night in the living room.
Oh, this is brand new.
Oh, it's brand new.
Okay.
Last night in the living room, surrounded by like a couple towels on the floor and a dining room chair, just watching our favorite TV show and listening to tunes.
What's
and
your favorite
whatever.
show?
Right now it's Schitt's Creek.
Oh, sure.
Having a good time with Schitt's Creek. A lot of funnies, a lot of sweet moments there.
Fine. Friday night.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be in LA together.
Correct. Yes, we will.
The finals of this season of the Great British Bake Off come out on Friday.
Do you plan on spending any of your hours in Los Angeles watching the Great British Bake Off?
If I hadn't been watching the entire season with my wife, who's not going to be in LA with us,
oh, you would have.
I absolutely would.
Wow. It's that.
But we're pretty dedicated at this point. If anybody has Great British Bake Off thoughts about who's going to win,
holla at your boy.
I'm pulling for Steph.
Okay.
I'm on Team Steph.
Okay, bro.
Sorry. I interrupted your story.
No. You're good. You're good. So we're watching Schitt's Creek, and about like 45 minutes into this dyeing process, I'm rinsing my hair, and like it's a little orange. It's not bad orange, but like it's a little orange.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? It's cool. Like I'll just I'll go get some of that purple shampoo. And you know what? We'll be fine.
Purple shampoo.
Yeah, they tell you to put purple shampoo in it. Like get some of like
purple shampoo.
It's literally purple shampoo. It's like got purple dye in it, and it like neutralizes the orange color and makes it go more like white.
Okay.
So that it's like actually bleached out blonde.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I don't need to go get it fixed. Like whatever, it'll be fine. Just can you just clean up my neckline, and like I'll be good. Like we'll be good to go. Mm-hmm. And I gave wifey the clippers, and
is this a first?
And that was a mistake.
This is the first time.
This is the first time.
Oh shit!
And she was like, I used to clean up my dad's neckline all the time. Like no problem. I got this in the bag. Now, to be fair, it's not that she's just like a bad hairdresser.
Not just.
She was also like a couple ciders deep at this point.
Oof.
So I was also
That's on you.
I was also not making a good decision.
You fucked this one up
by saying, "Hey, wifey, take the thing that can permanently alter my hair."
This one's on you for sure.
For sure. So I'm like sitting in the tub, and I just all of a sudden, she's just kind of going.
She's clipping your hair in the tub.
Well, I was like sitting on the edge of the tub.
Die?
No, there was no water. I was just sitting on the edge of like a dry tub, and all of a sudden, I just hear it go like. And she gasps, just a little gasp.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what happened? She goes, she just kind of started. This is the best, bro. She just kind of started laughing.
What else you gonna do at that point?
She was like, I fucked it up. She had gone up and like put a fucking a dent in it. And I was like, well, can you just like take the line up a notch and just fade it out?
Oh, bro, if she couldn't go straight, you don't want her fading anything.
Bro.
That's a horrible idea.
Look, here's what I'll say. Mistakes were made across the board.
Let me see the back of it. Is it still?
No. So the reason that I had to push our timeline today to record, this is where this whole story is going, is because I scheduled an emergency toning and haircut session at a salon in St. Paul right by my house to fix my fucking head and the color of my hair.
I was going to say, it did look like you got cut as well.
Yeah.
This makes sense now.
Yeah, and the color is significantly better than it was last night because they toned it too. So anyway.
You just got to...
Come to our LA show. You'll see my new do. It's much better than it was last night. Maybe if you're nice, I'll post a photo on Instagram because I made her I made her take a photo of how bad she fucked up my neckline. And bro, it's like borderline hilarious how bad it is.
Also, just go to Janessa at Venacava. What are you doing?
You know,
Get your shit together.
to be honest with you, I tried, but she didn't have any appointments till we got back from LA, and I wanted a fresh cut for the show, man.
My bad. She cut my hair today. I sniped it.
Bro, I thought about texting her and being like, I have an emergency.
Help!
Can you please
Help! I'm ugly.
carve open room for me? I'll pay you double. It's not good.
All right. Should we talk about Argydas Sabonis?
We're ready to talk about Argydas Sabonis.
All right. You're driving.
All right, man.
I'm pushing buttons and making puns.
That sounds like a party. Geedis. So the story of Geedis starts with our main man named Nate Fernald. Or Fernald. Fernald? I think it's
Sure.
Fernald.
Don't know.
I'm going to go with Fernald.
His name's Nate.
His name's Nate. And Nate is he's a writer for The Late Late Show with James Corden. And he is also an avid collector of enamel pins. Primarily specializes in band pins. He likes old, like 80s band pins.
I'm assuming he has a sweet denim vest that he puts these on.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Although I would imagine at a certain point you need to have them in cases for protection,
You just need multiple
storage.
vests.
Oh, it's true.
Just get another vest. Fill her up.
Wear a vest over your vest.
Well, you don't wear them at the same time.
Seems like you could.
You just rotate.
It seems like you could just get a jacket and then you'd have more real estate. But
Yeah, but then you wouldn't be able to show off your arms, bro.
it's true.
Look at my arms.
Nate is digging around on eBay in a enamel pin collector's collection of enamel pins and finds a handful of goofy pins, including one that said, I have to look at, I have to find it. It said, oh, wait. Work sucks, but I need the bucks was a good one. There's also
True story.
a slogan. One of the pins had the slogan, I'm so horny, even the crack of dawn looks good. So
Honk if you're horny.
got very creative pins. But another one that caught his eye was a pin that said in black letters on top of brass, Geedis. And above this Geedis pin is a creature that is a little hard to describe. I would put it somewhere in the world of, it's like a Muppet mixed with a bear, mixed with like an Ewok, mixed with like
Alf.
Alf.
His face looks sort of like the Where the Wild Things Are guy.
A little bit. He's got a big nose, big grin, little kind of like beady green eyes. He's brown in color, and he's sort of like perched on four legs.
He has creepily human-looking hands, though.
Yeah, got like a thumb and forefinger thing going on with the way his hands are out. But he's kind of got like a big red smile on.
Yeah, it looks like a big, fun dope.
Yeah. And Nate is just like, never seen it before, never heard of it, looks interesting, I'm going to buy it. $6. He buys the enamel pin, comes home, and he starts trying to look at what it is and try to find out more information on it. As he does, he finds another Geedis pin online. And he's
Same
like,
one?
Same one.
Okay.
And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to buy this one too. I'm interested, I'm curious, maybe there's differences in them.
I'm not sure I understand that strategy, but that's fine.
I think the way that he
One to rock,
explained
one
it,
to stock.
yeah, in that's there you go. Ooh, I love that phrase. I gotta think about that next time I buy shoes. I like that. I think his mindset was, this one didn't have any information on the back, but like maybe that one will. Maybe it's from a different run, or like maybe there's an inscription or engraving, or like just maybe there's more detail that he could maybe find.
Okay. This is from the same person selling it? Or
So I'll get there.
okay.
No additional information comes from the second one, so he goes to buy a third one.
This is a terrible strategy, but that's fine.
I think he got to the point where he was just sort of like obsessed with this little weird creature that he couldn't find more information about. So he just wanted to keep buying the pins, talking to the sellers. Each time with the seller, he would talk to the seller and say,
So these were coming from different people.
they were. So he has seen them and gotten them from 3 rogue sellers. The fourth one, he got 75 from.
Wait, so he bought one
So he bought 1, 2, 3 from
Yep.
3 different people.
One pin each time.
Correct.
Okay.
The last guy he found, he wanted to buy one, and the guy said, I actually have a bunch of these. Do you want more than one? And he was like, how many you got? And the guy was like, 75. And he was like, fuck it, I'll take them. Now,
This is before he knew anything about anything.
correct.
What a weird choice.
I mean, I think the way that he's explained it is he just got kind of obsessed with this thing and was.
But you said $6. I mean, even if he's buying it for like $2.
Yeah, our guy bought like $500 worth of enamel pins for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. No, that's.
Man, it must be nice.
I mean, I hear you. Must be nice. That's making that late show money, bro.
That is a much larger enamel pin budget than I have.
On June 21st of 2017, Nate is fed up with his inability to find more information about GEEDIS in its entirety. He's begun his collection. I don't know if when he posted this, he had purchased all 75 from that collector or not.
Okay.
But he was well into the mystery of GEEDIS at this point. He tweets to his followers in all caps, "What the fuck is GEEDIS? I found this old pin. Google has no answers. Please help. I'm losing my mind."
See, I would have tweeted that out with the first one instead of buying 78 more of them. But
Yeah, and to be fair to Nate, I don't entirely know the timing of it
Sure.
exactly, but I think he was like deep into it and kept buying them the more like curious he got. So let's see, two of them were in Texas, one of them was in Florida, and another was in another location. So I think that's a minor
the four
detail.
sellers, you're saying.
The sellers, yeah.
Okay.
Minor detail, but I think will be more interesting later on.
Also, these pins were manufactured in the early 80s, right?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
They're not dated. None of them are dated.
Got it.
So he tweets this, and the internet does what the internet be doing, which is takes it and runs with it.
Sleuthing.
And Nate sort of inadvertently goes a little bit Twitter and Reddit viral with his tweet because everyone else is like, yeah, what the fuck is GEEDIS? And people start doing what they do, which is posting it on Ask Reddit. It got posted to the Unresolved Mysteries subreddit in Reddit. Folks became fascinated with this little weird character that seems so specific and so formed, and yet there's no contextual information that's easily Googleable on the internet.
Yeah, there's still, I mean, now there's some stuff because...
We'll get there.
No, I'm just saying, there at the time, there was nothing on the... He was not able to find, like, a single entry relating to GEEDIS before he posted this tweet.
I see what you're saying. Now you can search for GEEDIS and GEEDIS will come
Because
up.
the story is blown up.
Right. But at the time, he was literally just like,
There was
SOL.
nothing, yeah.
So
Which is kind of crazy with how many things are on the internet these days.
absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things that led to this being such a mystery was like, this seems like a pretty thorough, well-formed, thought-out, like character, idea, concept, and there is zero contextual information on the internet about it.
Just think about any physical object that wouldn't have at least one mention on the internet.
Right. Or someone
There
who's
are-
like, oh yeah, I made those. Or, oh yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that would have no trace anywhere is got to be pretty rare,
tough to
I would
do.
think.
Yeah, tough to do. So Nate, like I said, goes viral in a bunch of different places with his questions about this thing. There's a subreddit that's created that's literally called GEEDIS, and it's dedicated to trying to solve this mystery. It started with just a couple thousand people when he first originally went Twitter viral. One of the unresolved mystery posts about GEEDIS made it to the front page via Ask Reddit. That grew the community to over 15,000 people. It's like close to 16,000 people now.
It's popping in there.
It's popping in there. And again, this has all happened since June of 2017.
So almost 2.5 years ago now.
Yep. So in this process of the internet trying to sleuth things out, Nate posts something on his Facebook page. And in the replies, either on Twitter or on his Facebook, I couldn't figure out which one, someone responds and tells Nate that they found a sticker sheet.
It was in that Twitter thread in response to his original tweet.
Okay, got it. Someone found a sticker sheet. And do you have any detail around like who found the sticker sheet or where? Because I didn't.
I don't. A few of them eventually popped up, but the first, I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
But it had our guy Geedis on it.
But it had a whole lot of other stuff on it too. So the sticker sheet itself has, a bunch of different details, but primarily what it has is 6 different characters, all with different names. And it is a fully fledged sticker sheet that across the top reads The Land of Ta. T-A. Ta.
Just the idea of a sticker sheet is so perfectly 80s.
Yes, totally.
Like, do you remember having sheets of stickers just be present in your life as a child?
Oh, of course.
With no idea where they came from?
Of course.
Like that, I think that's part of what is so fun about this mystery is that it's perfectly nostalgic for people roughly our age.
Absolutely.
Like, this kind of shit just was everywhere when we were kids.
Totally. Yeah, and also like you had Star Wars stickers, and you had like, there was Power Ranger stickers, like it was your favorite movies and your favorite TV shows. They were all attached to these very specific cultural touchstones.
That's why this one is crazy though, because there doesn't appear to be anything attached to it.
Exactly.
Toys, TV, movies, comics. There's just like every other instance of this was like, it was Star Wars,
right.
Or it was, Magic the Gathering, or it was like some other franchised thing.
For sure. It had a touchstone of some kind. And I think that's why it drove everyone crazy to figure out this mystery, because it felt so fleshed out, feels so fleshed out. Everyone's like, there has to be something else to it.
Right. We have other characters. We have a name for the entire universe. The characters themselves, if we can...
I was just about to.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, great.
So the Land of Ta sticker sheet that was posted in a reply to Nate's tweet has, like I said, 6 characters on it. Harry, Zoltan, Eric, Iggy, Tokar, and Geedis. Eric appears to be a bird humanoid soldier with a cape and a like giant scepter.
He basically looks like a dude with a beak.
Yep.
Who I would have given a cooler name than Eric, but whatever.
Fair. Harry is a short red troll, balding, and appears to be wrapped in some combo of like a snake/eagle.
It's a snake with an eagle's head, essentially.
Yes.
Or maybe like a small dragon with an eagle's head.
Sure. No wings, though, so I feel like it's more snake-like.
Yeah, the scales are kind of weird looking, but whatever.
That's true.
Some sort of serpent with an eagle's head.
Zoltan is a green winged humanoid goblin of sorts with antenna and like a gaping mouth with fangs in it.
It's like a green Mothman kind of.
Yeah, totally. Iggy is like a little weird fishy goblin with like a helmet and like some armor on, and is also holding a scepter with more of like a little dragon wrapped around his scepter.
Then we have angry bootleg C-3PO.
And Tokar is for sure an angry bootleg C-3PO. And then in the bottom center of this is Geedis, but Geedis is fully fleshed out. So these are all like actual cartoon animations, because the enamel pin was...
You mean illustrations, not animations?
Right? Yeah, illustrations, or they're like animated characters. I guess I'm trying to say they're cartoonized in a way that the pin wasn't a cartoon.
Oh, I see.
The pin was just like a line drawing, because you couldn't get this level of dimension
These
and
have more
depth and detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're painted or drawn or whatever.
Right, and these are in full color. So what's also interesting beyond these 6 characters is that there is a little bit of detail that says on the side, Denison, 1981, 80216. So everyone goes, okay, the company made these.
I thought it was 82.
81 on the original sticker sheet.
Okay.
There are other sticker sheets that arrived from 82, but the original one is from 81.
Okay.
So there's more detail here. Nate takes the photo from his Twitter. He posts it on his Instagram, and he says, "Huge Geedis news." Geedis is from the land of Ta. But now the question is, what the fuck is the land of Ta? It never ends. We are all doomed.
Okay, Nate.
Which Nate, I don't think
Calm
is the case, my friend. I think actually you're not doomed. You
found some stickers.
You have renewed light, my friend. You have renewed light. So this is further, I'd say, fodder for the internet to go on. And the internet continues to do what it do. Denison, as people find out, is a reference to the Denison Manufacturing Company, which is one of the largest paper and branded products companies in the Northeast of the United States. They were based just outside of Boston in a town called Framingham, Massachusetts. And basically the internet said, well, let's go talk to Denison. And particularly who went to go talk to Denison was a handful of reporters from WBUR, which is the national public radio station in Boston. And their names are,
real quick before that part, didn't one of the other sticker sheets show up before this? The Women of Ta?
Yes.
Okay.
You're right.
So there's a second sticker sheet that came out of Nate's social media posts. Someone found and then posted a second sticker sheet titled "The Women of Ta."
Yes,
that included Cicely, Astrid, Sybil,
Amneris, I would go with, yes,
Ursula, and Remelda. So they're a little different than the Land of Ta characters.
Yep.
Most of them have some sort of dragon either with them or near them or appear to be partially dragon.
Yep.
We've got one. Astrid looks like she's just straight up half dragon, half human. Amneris looks like she's maybe sort of like half Komodo dragon or some big lizard and half human.
Yep.
Remelda just has a really sweet dragon hanging out next to her.
Yep.
So there's this second sheet of characters that are very different than. Also, the style of the art looks to maybe be different.
Yep.
But appears to be part of this same Ta universe.
Yeah. And like Women of Ta, like they didn't say the Land of Ta, but Women of Ta, and also copyright Denison. This sheet was from 1982.
Got it.
There was a third sheet, and I don't know when the third sheet was found, but the third sheet had another set of characters on it. Herman and Eris and Uno and Shimra and a couple other ones. And these ones have more like Thor-like characters, little like a green goblin with a club, a big like Sasquatch-looking gorilla guy with an axe. Eris is just straight up a dragon. These ones also said the Land of Ta on them and were also copyrighted from 1981 and look more similar to the original sheet that has Geedis on it.
Cool.
Again, though, this world, now we're up to between
like 18 characters.
The three sheets, we've got 18 characters, all seemingly from the same Land of Ta. They all have this similar sort of like lizard, dragon, partnership combo.
D&D sci-fi fantasy thing going on.
Totally. So these sheets get found. These reporters from Boston decide to join in on the hunt. They interview Nate, and they take this show on the road. It's Amory Severston, James Lindbergh, and Ben Johnson. They take up the case. And what they end up doing...
They also did a really great podcast about this.
Yeah, for sure. Listen to that.
Endless Thread is the name of the podcast. And that episode is, I don't know, it's one of three things that show up if you search Geedis on your podcast app.
Yeah, for sure. Listen to that. So they go and they try to dig into the archives at Denison and say, like, look, somebody has to know if the company copyrighted these and distributed them. They've got to know at least like, was it internal artists? Was it external artists? Did we hire a freelancer for this? Is this from some series from another country that we licensed? Is it, what is the actual origin of this? Did somebody work with these? Did somebody know the artist, or can they at least point them in the right direction?
Part of the problem in doing that, though, is that Denison merged sometime in the 90s with Avery. Is that the other company?
Avery, yep.
But it's Farmingham, right? Is that the town where they're
Framingham?
Framingham.
Yep.
Where Denison was located. The Framingham Historical Center has a bunch of Denison's materials from the 80s, which is, I think, where WBUR got a lot of their info, and then eventually got some of the actual proofs and stuff of these sheets.
Yeah. And just to clarify, a big reason that the Historical Center had stuff like this is because Denison, being one of the biggest printing and manufacturing, providers in the country, they were the biggest employer for all of Framingham.
Most of the town was somehow linked to Denison.
Yeah, so it's a huge part of their community and a part of their collective history because of how important it was to the Northwest, but also to their small town. So throughout their investigation and their interviews, they meet Tom Manguso. So Tom Manguso was the art director at Denison at the time that the Land of Ta stickers were produced.
Mm-hmm.
And they get Tom Manguso to look at these things and go, what do you think, bud? Do you recognize these? Did you make them? Did somebody make them? And Tom tells these Boston reporters that he went to school with a man named Sam Petrucci. And Sam worked at an art studio called Gun Studio, where Tom's son also worked. And Tom hired Sam out of Gun Studio to do freelance work for Denison, creating art for the sticker packs that they made and produced through Denison. And Tom and Billy identified the art style to look a lot like something Sam would or could have done.
So the moment actually on that Endless Thread podcast where they have Tom on the phone.
Yes.
Who's now in his 90s, I think.
Yeah, because if you think about it, these were produced in the 80s. These people were probably well into their careers.
He was in a senior level position.
Could have been 45, 50 years old at the time. So they're, 85, 90 now.
Yeah. And so they sent these photos to his son's phone because Tom didn't have a phone that you could view pictures on.
Yep.
Tom looks at him and he's like, no, I don't know what these are.
Yeah.
These don't look familiar at all. And they're going to move on from it. And in the background, you can hear his son say oh, I know those.
Yeah.
I've seen those. And they Tom keeps talking, and I forget which of the reporters, Amory or somebody goes, did he just say he knows those?
Yeah.
Hold the fuck on. Can we talk to your son for a second?
Let's not blow by the fact that we're trying to get these identified, and it sounds like someone in the room has identified them.
So it was Tom's son. What was his name?
Billy.
Billy, who's actually said I think this might be this guy that I used to work with.
Yep. Yes. So these Boston reporters, Amory and Ben and James, they take the name Sam Petrucci and they try to track him down. And they succeed, sort of. Unfortunately, Sam passed away this past year. Past year, I think? No.
It was 2013. It was a while
2013, ago. Okay. That's right. But they found the obituary when they were looking for him, which led them to the rest of the Petrucci family.
Correct.
And then they started interviewing Sam's sons and daughters. So we had 5 kids, and Linda and Lisa, 2 daughters, were the ones that were most familiar with their dad's art. And so they interview these daughters and they say, look, we're looking for this cast of characters. We're looking for this Land of Ta. Mm-hmm. They're looking to try to figure out where did Sam get it from? Where did he Where did these ideas come from him? What did he create? Is this something that got licensed from someone else? Or again, like, is it his? Did these come from his brain? And they come to find through their interviews with Linda and Lisa, a absolute treasure trove of all of Sam's old art.
Yeah, they had originals of like most things that he had done, which is crazy because they're. I mean, this might sound stupid, but like the way that things would have been preserved from the 80s or created and then preserved, like the originals were pencil sketches or paintings in his case.
Yep.
Like there was no backup. There was no like digital anything. They said, I forget, one of the people they talked to who used to work at Denison was like, yeah, well, we didn't have copy machines yet.
Yeah.
Like that. It's crazy how quickly all that shit changed where like, yeah, there might only be one physical copy somewhere of this stuff.
Right. Which goes a long way to telling you why it would be extremely hard to track down the origin of these things, because there is no trail. There is inside of Linda and Lisa's stash of their dad's art, an individual pencil drawing.
Which is just like, it's crazy because that's the only way that this would have been solved.
Yes, is finding that.
Yeah.
If that stuff had been burned or donated,
just lost or like not cataloged by someone intentionally.
He never had kids and it went to the dump, like,
or even just if it was sitting in a closet somewhere and somebody hadn't gone through it and sorted it out into folders by who their dad did these jobs for. Like they had a Denison folder.
Right.
That's crazy.
His time period for them, for sure. For sure. And so in many ways, this sort of solved to a degree the Geedis mystery.
Yes.
To a very small degree.
Also, real quick on Sam Petrucci.
Please.
This dude was a crazy good and like well-known graphic designer.
Yeah, so that's one of the most, I think, like heartwarming and like amazing pieces of this whole thing. So Sam Petrucci, you might know him if you've ever seen the TJ Maxx logo. Mm-hmm. You might know him if you've ever seen the World Wildlife Fund's panda logo.
Hell yeah, that's a great logo.
It's a great logo. You might know him if you've ever seen the Marshmallow Fluff logo.
He did, there was one more. Ocean Spray.
Ocean Spray logo, which is like classic. Mm-hmm. Apparently Friendly's is an ice cream chain up in the Northeast that I'd never heard of, but I would imagine our listeners in the Northeast will have probably heard of. He did their logo.
It's a cool logo.
He also did all of the original box work and poster work for G.I. Joe.
So that story is even crazier.
Yes.
In that, yes, he did the original artwork for it. He posed for his own artwork. So like the G.I. Joe guy is based on him.
Because it's literally a photo someone took of him holding a fake gun, and then he used that to like line draw over and then turn into a painting based on like a figure running and holding a gun.
He also, according to his family or friends and family, originally like came up with the idea for G.I. Joe as a franchise.
Yes.
And pitched it to Hasbro and was not later on credited for it. Also, the artwork that he did, he was offered to be, because he was doing it like as a contractor. He wasn't an employee of Hasbro, right?
Yeah.
I think Hasbro is the one who...
Hasbro, yeah.
They offered to either pay him like a one-time fee up front or in stock on the back end. And he chose to take the money up front.
Said he needed the money now.
Which he later told friends and family cost him in excess of $40 million.
Well, and then one of the friends who's getting interviewed says, a year. And that can't be true.
Also, that's just not how stock works.
I mean, if he had done some way to like average it out, but even then I don't think that's...
Yeah.
Right. But anyway,
seems like an exaggeration. But
I can see a way in which if someone was like, oh yeah, well they said, look, we can't give you any money, but we'll give you 100,000 shares of Hasbro stock. And then you waited 40 years to like, cash it out or whatever. Like I can see how that probably could have been roughly $40 million, depending on, again, I'm not doing the math right. I don't know what Hasbro stock's at. But anyway, point being, like, he was responsible potentially for the idea to the point that they were willing to pay him in stock options.
Yeah, I couldn't really deduce whether those two things were linked, whether it was like he pitched it and they sort of jacked the idea and then we're trying to compensate by being like, we'll maybe pay you more than we would have or give you some investment in this for doing the artwork.
Yeah.
Or if they like jacked the idea and then separately gave him two options of being paid just for the artwork itself.
Right.
That wasn't really clear to me, but
yeah,
either way.
I got the impression it was like they were trying to compensate,
like make it right a little bit.
Well, no, I thought it was more of like it was an offer they made him up front because they didn't know whether or not this thing was going to go gangbusters at all. So they were like, look, we'll give you your payment in stock. If this thing goes off,
we both win.
We both win. You'll make more money because of that. If it doesn't, and you just want to take the lump sum now, you can do that too. And so if he didn't have enough, confidence in the idea or whatever, he was like, well, I'll just take the money now and we'll see how it goes.
Also, being someone who does a lot of contractor work, money now usually sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
As opposed to like maybe money later.
We'll see if that works out. Right. For sure. Regardless though, like famous graphic designer, Sam Petrucci, we know now.
Or like established at least.
Yeah. Very established, like very successful graphic designer, Sam Petrucci. We know that he designed all this cool shit, and he designed the Land of Ta and the characters inside of it.
So I have several questions still.
I do too.
Let's maybe start with, I don't know. None of these are going to be answerable. I was going to say the most answerable, but we're not going to answer any of them.
Wait. Sorry, before you get to your questions, I just wanted to say one more thing about that. I loved, like learning that this is... Like when you talk about him being a pretty established designer and having done all this super successful work, one of the things I love most about this story is in some ways it feels like this guy who does like good work and cool work, but like the TJ Maxx logo, like probably not super fulfilling, even though it's like cool design work. It probably doesn't necessarily like feed your soul personally. And I love the idea of like, I'm for sure creating a story that's not necessarily real here, but like I love the idea of this Land of Ta being Sam's like, this is fun for me. I like creating these characters. I like making these ideas into a reality. And this is like the design work I do for me.
I wonder though, because some of the characters are fairly derivative of other stuff that was going on at the time, right? Like the Tokar guy is obviously a C-3PO spinoff. Some of the other stuff seems to be heavily influenced by other like sci-fi fantasy art of the time, of the late 70s, early 80s. It seems more to me like something he was trying to pitch to a company.
Maybe.
Whether it be for like, here are some characters and some designs and some looks. Can we develop this into something else? Whether it be like TV, movie, cartoon, comic, whatever.
Yeah.
Or just as like, they were those companies, and Dennison was one of them, that just made shit that showed up in like arcades and in like school stores and stuff. And like, they weren't really tied to anything.
In fact, they were intentionally untied to things because they were sort of derivative of existing pop culture stuff.
Exactly.
And they were hoping that people were going to like buy into it because it seemed familiar enough. Like, oh yeah, I think my kid has a C-3PO poster.
Exactly.
Like that's what this
looks
is.
like the shit my kid is into, and it's only $2, so whatever.
Right.
It seems more along those lines to me. What's confusing to me is the Women of Ta sheet that doesn't look like it was done by him.
No, the aesthetic of it is markedly different than the first two.
And his family did not have any proofs or sketches or anything of those characters, correct?
Correct. There was no...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, they did find the pencil drawings, and it was I think an important detail that they found the pencil drawings named in his stash.
Like with the character names?
With the character names on them, as in he had created the names for them in advance. They said that there were...
Maybe.
But they were saying that like there was a lot of Dennison sticker sheets where when they were supposed to be like knockoff or like approaching existing pop culture, that they were often unnamed intentionally to be like, you
as
decide.
malleable as possible. Yeah.
This could fit the narrative that's already in your brain. And
Right.
so they found that to be a specific and interesting detail that he was likely naming them in his process and then shipping them out that way. But yeah, there were no pencil drawings or originals of the Women of Ta in his stash.
So it makes me think that maybe this was a bigger concept with more of a world built around it, because you have the character names up front. You have 18 characters that seem like they coexist somehow.
Yeah.
It looks like he probably was either working with someone else or brought someone else on to work on this project. If it wasn't done, or maybe like Dennison was requesting like samples, doing stuff on spec with multiple artists, but someone somewhere seems like they had a bigger idea for this thing.
Yeah, well, for sure. And I guess my and maybe this is part of my romanticizing it being like, you know, his happy place, but I do think part of it is it feels like it's his world. The way that the originals come from him, the naming comes from him. It feels like it was a world that he was creating.
So
and
why
would
would someone else have done that other sheet then?
Well,
if
so
that's the case,
for sure,
which
I think
is an assumption in itself. But
yeah, my guess or thought was, is it possible that when he did that project for Dennison somehow got the rights to the concept of Ta or the land of Ta or whatever it was,
he tried to flesh it out.
And they said, hey, you know, the Land of Ta stickers are selling pretty well, but we realize there's no female characters. Can you do a set of females? And he's going, I'm doing this whole G.I. Joe thing right now.
The thing is, though,
I'm a
like,
little busy.
they didn't sell well, right? Like no one has seen these things or has them or remembered them. It was like 3 people total on the internet.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of a presumption though, that like, you know, you think about, I mean, if you were a middle schooler in the 80s, in 81, 82, 83, 84, when these were coming out, you know, at this point, you're in your 50s. Like, are you seeing these corners of the internet? Do you have any of those still? Probably not.
But not even having that, like, no, you wouldn't have them probably. But someone somewhere would have been like, that looks familiar.
But people have been. I mean, like, the subreddit has people who are like, yeah, these are familiar to me, or like, I feel like I've seen these or whatever.
Well, I guess more than familiar. Someone would have been like, "Oh yeah, we all had those in middle school." You know? It wasn't that level of popularity, if it was popular at all.
It wasn't like a Lisa Frank thing where it was like
exactly. And anyone from our age would look at that and instantly, maybe not know the name, but be like, "Oh yeah, everybody had those." I don't know why, where they came from, or why they were cool, or why we all had them, but we all had those things.
We all fucked around with the Ta gang.
Yeah. And that clearly was not the case, right? So if they sold at all, it probably was pretty limited.
Sure.
Or regional or something.
Yeah.
And there's one, for whatever it's worth, there's, you know, a bunch of people talking about this shit on social media and on Reddit, and long Reddit threads with thousands of comments and stuff.
Right.
Someone in one of those threads said that they did recognize that sticker sheet.
Yep.
Because their dad in the 80s stocked those like little quarter operated vending machine things that used to be everywhere, where you know, get like a toy inside a little plastic egg thing.
Hell yeah.
And he remembered his dad he would like bring home extra stock or like stuff that was given to him that didn't end up going actually like out into the world.
Right.
Or sometimes samples and stuff. And he remembered his dad bringing home one of these Land of Ta GEEDIS sheets, and said that the way it was laid out. So he said that this thing was probably 4 vending machines. Like you'd put a quarter in and you get like a couple stickers in a little plastic case.
Yep.
But the way that this sheet was laid out, it looked to him like a proof, because the way that these were distributed wouldn't have been on big, you know, 8.5 by 11 sheets. They would have been on smaller, individually cut, so they could be put into small containers.
Sure.
So his thought was, and based on the fact that his dad like took some of this stuff home, this was probably like a sample or a proof that Dennison made that they never actually like manufactured and distributed.
See, but I don't think that's actually true though, because we have full versions of the sticker pages now, like in packaging.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From whom?
Let me find it really quick here.
Because there's a bunch of fake shit floating around now too, where people have in the last 2.5 years made Land of Ta art.
There is, but the
merch or whatever.
But the one picture that I'm trying to find right now that I can't find is the picture of the pack from Framingham.
Okay.
Or Framingham.
Yeah.
Framingham. It's the one that they have like up in their display related to this.
Okay.
And
I saw a couple photos where they had it listed with like that, the item or like the catalog number that's on the sheet.
Yep.
In a catalog. So it was listed at some point as like a product that people could buy. I didn't know they actually had like a sealed version of it still.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was actually manufactured and distributed at some point.
Yeah. See,
but we don't know how many or for how long.
That's part of the Framingham stuff. So I'm showing it to Spencer right now. It says stickers.
That's an empty package though.
It is, but this was someone removed it so that they could take apart all of the individual stickers.
I don't know. Let me see that closer.
So this was one of the sheets. So the sheets were rippable. There was 4 sheets per.
Yeah.
So you would rip the sheet off of a booklet that said stickers on it and said 4 sheets per package. This isn't the one that I was looking for, but there is one of these intact in the Framingham like history center thing.
So they were actually producing and distributing these
in there, like
at least a little bit.
Well, and one of the things I haven't been able to wrap my head around either is
we don't know that necessarily though either. This doesn't mean that these were ever like available in retail, right? Just because they have the Framingham Historical Center has copies of it. They still would have made like proofs and tests even of the packaging, right?
Probably, yeah. But also too, you got to remember these weren't, when you said 8.5 by 11, like the full packaging was 4 7/8 by 6 7/8 inches. Okay. And that includes the banner across the top. So the stickers themselves were actually pretty small.
Okay. Well, maybe, for the first time ever, the guy on the internet was lying. Definitely possible.
Definitely possible. But like understandably, like to his point and to your point, like regardless of the nuance here, the idea is they probably weren't that widely available because we don't have a ton of existing copies of them.
I think that's a safe assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a relatively safe assumption.
My bigger question is, what the fuck is the pin?
I literally have in my notes after all this, everything I have noted about this entire story, but what about that fucking pin?
Because Dennison claims to never have made, or during the 80s at least, not made enamel pins.
It was one of the higher ups that they interviewed from Dennison said in the 25 years he worked at the company, which was like around the chunk of time that the Land of Ta stickers were being made, he said, we didn't make pins. It was like not in our wheelhouse. It wasn't in our production facility. We didn't have any ability to do that. We didn't make pins.
If you have these stickers that it's safe to assume were not super popular, if like even distributed at all.
Yep.
Why would someone other than Dennison be making pins based on one character who does not even appear to be like an important character, all things considered?
Yes. So
he's like a weird little guy who is at the bottom of one of the sheets. Like he doesn't seem to be a primary character even.
Yeah, he's not like larger than anybody else or central or it's not the Land of Geedis.
In this world that never even developed into anything. Who's out there making bootleg pins of something that no one knows about?
For sure. So there's a couple other details / additional pieces of information I want to go over related to the pins.
Also important to note that the pins do not have any sort of copyright on them. So they definitely don't have Dennison copyright, but they also don't have anything else on them.
Right. There's also, so this guy, Nate, who bought all these pins, is not the only one to get his hands on a Geedis pin. There are some other people that have found them online in these enamel pin collections. And there's one interesting photo that someone put up in the Geedis subreddit, which is a side-by-side of there's a person holding 2 Geedis pins in their hand on the right side, and then there's another pin just on like a looks like it's on like a pair of jeans or something like that on the left side.
It's a denim vest.
It's probably a denim vest. There's some notable differences between the two pins. On the pins on the right, the nose is uncolored, and on the left, the nose is colored in like kind of like tannish or like light brownish. The pin on the left, the back of the pin is smooth, like the enamel along the side is just a smooth back of Geedis. Mm-hmm. On the pins on the right, they're bumpy.
Is this the one that has like the darker brown main coloring also?
These ones?
Yeah.
The pins on the left, the ear, there's like a hole where the ear would be, you know, like a cartoon bear or whatever would have like a little ear hole. The ear is not colored in on the pins on the left. It is colored in on the ears on the right.
Are these the ones that were found in the North Carolina gift shop? Is that the origin of these? Or is there yet a third series?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where these were found.
Can I see that photo closer up?
Yes. But the point that that folks on the internet try to make, and I'm not making this claim per se, is it seems like if there were multiple versions of this pin being made,
what the fuck?
There were either multiple runs or multiple locations making them.
They're significantly different though. Like the base color is different, but then the design is different. It's not even the material is different. Like all aspects of it are different in some way.
Yes.
It doesn't appear to just be a second run. It looks like they started over.
Yeah. Like the face is one color on the right and the body is a different color. It's not on the left.
They're significantly different in significant ways.
It feels like someone got given a line drawing of it and said you have to make this into a pin, and someone made completely different coloring and like what shaping choices.
Possible reason? It doesn't make sense that it would have been made a first time, much less a second.
Yes. So there's another small piece of info before we dive fully into the pin shit, because I have a bunch of questions about it. So on eBay, a pin showed up that is Zoltan.
Yeah.
But
when though?
In the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And
Zoltan is one of the other characters.
It's one of the other characters on the main sheet.
He was the Green Mothman guy, right?
Green Goblin, yep. Nate did a AMA on Reddit and said that he found the thing, quote, incredibly fishy. He said the quote,
pin itself?
Yeah. He said he, quote, messaged the seller but got no response. Their user image is Tammy, and it looks like it's the only item they've ever sold, despite their handle being, quote, pin seller guy.
Wait. You said the image is Tammy?
Yeah.
So there's another thing here. There's also a Tammy pin. I think you're conflating two things right now. So there's this Zoltan pin that Nate and other people think is fake and has popped up since the Geedis thing happened.
Yes.
In 2017. There's a third pin that's this Tammy character who is not, it's not clear that it's part of the Land of Ta. It's not any of the sticker sheets or anything, but it looks to be the same style as the Geedis pin.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm conflating things though, because the eBay seller who was selling the Zoltan pin had Tammy as their user image.
Oh,
as in their profile photo as an eBay seller.
Well, then we need to just stop and explain what Tammy is.
Yes.
Okay.
Go.
Well, I guess I sort of just did. But there's this third pin out there that some people think might be related to Geedis and the Land of Ta, but it's loose because it's a enamel pin in sort of the same style as the Geedis pin. The artwork looks similar. The name Tammy is underneath it, just like the name Geedis is underneath. But that's all. But we also don't know where this one came from, who made it, what it was a part of.
Yes.
So, but Tammy's not included on any of the sticker sheets that have come out.
No, and like the character doesn't look anything like anything from the Land of Ta.
And none of them were named Tammy.
Right.
Or anything like Tammy.
Tammy was not a woman of
Zoltan and Geedis and Arvinus Sabonis.
Right. So the point that I'm trying to bring up is that I guess there are a couple very loose instances of people, quote, finding another pin, but it looks like for the most part, Geedis was the only character of these 18 characters who got made into an enamel pin. And we know that like There's not probably, thousands of them out there, but people have definitely, like Nate as an individual has
One
secured
person owns
100.
78. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said he's got over 100 now in his collecting of them.
He's still going?
And other people have multiples as well. So we know that,
At some point,
40 years later, there's at least 100 of these lasting enamel pins.
and none of the sellers know where they got any of them from?
So
that's weird.
That's super weird to me, especially, and this is an angle that I haven't seen anybody fully probe, is the guy that had 75 of them. Where did you get 75 of one enamel pin?
Right.
You have to have.
I feel like you could trace that back to something.
You would think, right? Like that seems to me to be the hottest lead of this entire thing is like, go to that guy and say, where did you get 75 versions of this Geedis pin?
Which I'm sure Nate would have done, right? Or
I don't
tried
know.
to do at least.
I haven't seen, I maybe tried to. I haven't seen anything specifically related to that.
It would seem pretty silly if you're that invested in this whole thing to not at least ask the guy who has
For sure. The most of these.
75,000% more of these than anyone else out there has. 7,500, whatever, math is hard.
You're good.
Hey man, how come you have 75 of these? Where'd you get them?
Right.
You would have to at least ask.
Totally.
And then if there's that many other individual sellers that have also somehow come to possess one of these things,
and again,
no one knows where they got them.
we know that this art was originally created in Boston or in the
near
Massachusetts
Boston.
area. Pins were being sold in Florida and Texas. Like
That's fucking weird.
These things-
they were on eBay. They were showing up in Florida and Texas and other places.
sellers
right?
were vending them from
Yeah,
those
right.
locations.
Not originally. That we don't know if they were being sold in those locations.
No, but we know people got them somehow that far,
They
which
now
is
are in those locations.
they have distributed themselves deep enough
Right.
to be
Right.
available somehow in those places. So like how the fuck, if they're not that popular, are they also enough of them to get that far?
And all you would need is one person to be able to trace the origin of this thing.
Right.
To be like, oh, this was in my mom's stuff.
Right.
And
Let's go ask my mom. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we got given those with a book on day one of whatever.
Yeah,
or
or,
yeah, totally.
like just any lead like that would be useful
for sure.
or worth investigating, at least if you really were trying to get to the bottom of this shit.
For sure. I stumbled across one theory.
Okay.
And it's my favorite one I've found so far to explain the enamel pin thing.
Great. Because I have none right now.
Okay. So we don't know. Okay. So a couple things we don't know. We don't know when the pins were made.
Right.
They're not dated. We know that the sticker sheets came out in 81, but we have no idea between 81 and
Or honestly,
2019.
could have been pre-81.
I was just about to say, or even before the sticker sheets were ever made, could he have been translating his art into these things?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know when they were made. We don't know who made them because they're not copyrighted. We don't have Dennison. We don't have anybody's name on them. So we don't know who made them. We don't know where they were made because we've been finding them all over. So they seem like they could be anything from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the theories I find most interesting is, did someone who had one of these sticker packs gravitate towards an individual character and of their own accord go get a short run of these things made for a specific purpose?
It's possible, but that seems weird.
I completely agree with you, but the version that I like most and I find most interesting is Nate was a big fan of band merch, music merch. And he was like, someone proposed on the internet, wouldn't that be interesting if a band that grew up in the 80s and had these sticker packs, and maybe it was like we all had Geedis stickers as a piece of their band merch, just as like a side thing. It wasn't like they named their band that, or they named their album that, or they named, a song that even. They just decided, wouldn't it be fun and cool if we sold Geedis stickers when we were on tour, or excuse me, Geedis pins when we're on tour. And maybe they're like small enough that they never really like made it maybe they all had been passed down through enough people that no one actually like knows. It just seemed like an interesting way to be like, that's how you could get.
How do you get 75 of them
in one spot?
Well, obviously they didn't sell shit.
Right. Like,
but then like
leftover that got donated.
It still seemed
at
like you'd be able to. Yeah, I've brought band shirts to Goodwill before.
Right.
It's a sad day.
Right.
It just seems like you'd still be able to trace that somehow. Either somebody who saw that at a show, one of the people in the band who made them, somebody who's selling them because they bought one at a show,
Sure.
or like the story's gotten a fair amount of attention now. You'd think someone somewhere would have been like, oh yeah, that looks familiar at least. No one has even said with the pins, like no one has even claimed to have seen it before, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree.
Which is weird, even if it were that scenario.
It is, and there's also part of me that goes, is there enough of a generational gap that occurs in the internet where, you know, say you're in your mid-20s or late 20s or early 30s and you're a touring band, and
now you're in your 60s.
And now you're in your 60s,
definitely
70s.
Not on Reddit.
Yeah, you're not on Reddit, or maybe...
Not your 80s.
Or,
unless you were 50 when you were touring.
But I mean, that's not impossible. Like in the 80s, was there a hair band that was running around like, you know, in their late 40s, like making GEEDIS pins?
I mean,
it's
definitely possible.
I'm just saying, like, we don't know. Like, there could be any version of that out there. And then, like, maybe it's not a band. Maybe it's just like some artist that got attached to it.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's interesting too is maybe it's an artist that did it in 2010. Like,
right.
What if you had
you'd probably be able to sort of estimate the age of the pins if you had one in your hand, right?
Maybe.
Like 2010 versus 1980 at least, like within a 30-year range.
Yeah, and Nate does say in the batch that he got, there's a bunch of them. The only variation that saw in the one batch was the backings of the pins, and he said it looked like they had either like broken or gotten too old, so they had replaced them with newer ones. So I can see that being the case. But I just mean like any time in, you know, between 80 and 2000 or 2010, like someone could have just made a run of these for the fuck of it. I mean, it would be weird, but it wouldn't be like out of, you know, the realm of possibility that someone kind of gravitated towards this one goofy character.
Yeah.
And decided
it's just
to
weird
like,
with like how few people apparently saw those stickers. That scenario would make a ton of sense to me if these stickers were popular, but like,
sure,
as far as we can tell, like 10 people on the planet claim to have seen these stickers. You know, it wasn't like they were in every school and people would be like, GEEDIS, yeah.
Right.
Let me make some pins. That was funny. Remember GEEDIS?
Right.
Like nobody knew what the fuck it was.
Right.
So to make it, and then also to think that anyone else would give a shit if you were trying to sell them or something. Not to say that, you know,
but maybe that's not the point for somebody,
made some
right?
bad merch decisions over the years,
but like maybe in 1995 you stumbled across a sticker pack in a fucking, you know, in a used goods shop, bought it because it was weird as shit to you and you had no idea, and it just like became a thing for you and you made it, you know?
Yeah.
I think,
but then you would still think like somebody would be able to say like, oh yeah, I got 75 of these from this guy.
Sure.
You know, how is there no trail on any of these that are showing up on eBay?
Yeah. And that also too, to me, makes me wonder a little bit, and maybe this is, you know, going full conspiracy at the end of an episode of the What If podcast. But
hell yeah.
But like, is it possible that somebody had a sticker pack and drummed these up for the purpose of like fucking with people, or like, you know what I'm saying?
No, but like,
so everything that I just said about like, maybe you found a sticker pack in a used goods store.
Yeah.
Maybe that all happened, but the intent was someone like trying to see if they could spread a cultural idea by being like, I'm going to make 500 of these and like sell them online through different eBay shops, drop them at flea markets for like, like, I don't know. Like, again
like that
weird,
all seems
but
possible to me, but then it would be very hard to make sure that there was no record of any of that.
coming back around. Yeah.
And to have them end up in as many different spots as they have.
And the thing that I still can't wrap my head around is like, why fucking Geedis?
Well,
There's so many different characters.
I mean, in your premise, it's just random. He sticks out on that sheet as being like, that's goofy,
That
and he
guy's
looks silly,
goofy.
and his name is funny.
true.
That
but like,
part I could understand.
But I guess I mean, like, I say that to say there are, if this were some sort of corporate push or some sort of systematized distribution of this universe, we wouldn't just have a couple hundred Geedis pins exclusively floating around, right? Like we would have, I mean, even if they picked one character per sheet or like two characters per sheet. And
Well, we don't know that there aren't a bunch more of those pins. They may just be all in one box somewhere that when Dennison merged with Avery, they threw that shit out because they had only sold 80 of them.
yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's just, it seems like if we'd been able to surface this many in this many different places of this one specific character,
But I mean, it could have been something like,
scrounge up a handful more in like different places.
say you made 1,000 of them and you
Total.
or 5,000 even or whatever, and you only actually shipped a couple hundred because no one wanted to buy that shit.
Yeah.
And then of those couple hundred, most of those sat.
Yep.
One store maybe ended up with like, they ordered 100 and they sold 20, and then that lot of 75 ended up with some guy who was buying bulk pins to resell on eBay.
Right.
And a couple people who bought individual ones bought them, and then they ended up at Goodwill or something or whatever.
Or there's a box somewhere sitting in some vast warehouse of like a collector or a pawn shop or whatever that has 800 of these random pins with other characters attached to them.
It would be fun to play this game in reverse of just go to Goodwill and buy like the most one-off, unique,
Random thing you can find.
yeah, like somebody out there would be like, Quante and Big Cats, what the fuck is this t-shirt? I bet there's none of these. I'll be like, bro, I have 500 of them in my basement. You just weren't looking in the right spot. But like, I wonder how hard it would be to find to you a completely foreign item.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
It's an interesting concept because I think what the core of what you're getting at is probably true, which is like, this probably happens more often than we think it does.
And no one gives a fuck.
And it's just not that, it's just not that important. And it's not that, or what it is it's like, there is a decent enough answer to it sometimes where it's like, oh yeah, you got to work kind of hard, but it's like, oh yeah, that was just like a random thing.
I think the timing is important too in making this uniquely difficult to get to the bottom of, because it's just barely pre-internet, but it's recent enough that like, people remember it who aren't ancient, and you can get a hold of people who worked on it or were around it. And yet it's completely plausible that there would be no record of it because, one company contracted one job once 35 years ago, whatever, almost 40 years ago. And
literally
when records got digitized, that one was not worth digitizing.
Yeah, because they literally acknowledged they were literally going into manila folders to pull designs out to make new sticker sheets.
Exactly.
And,
So like, I bet there's a lot of stuff from that era specifically that had a similar life.
Yeah. While all those things I think are probably true, I still want there to be like, I want there to be this world that Sam Petrucci created for himself, this like, Star Wars-esque universe that he had envisioned for himself.
Yeah.
And that there is some sort of like, I don't know, like happy universe.
Happy land of Todd.
That he landed in for himself. There's a great quote actually that I'll read maybe to finish that I kind of agree with. It's from Nate himself, the man who started this whole ding dang mystery. He says, let me find it really quick.
What'd he say, though?
He was talking about, man, maybe I'm going to have to paraphrase him. What he was talking about was, it was in the AMA. Yeah, I am going to paraphrase him because it's in the AMA. But basically what he said was, he was like, what I wish, like my hope for all of this is that there's like a manuscript somewhere. Like Sam was working on a story, and this was him fleshing out all the visuals, but he had some journal somewhere or some book somewhere that he was writing for himself that meshed all of these characters together into a
universe somewhere out there.
Yeah, that exists. And he wants like someone to be able to find that book and mesh all these characters together.
Considering he was a graphic designer and not a writer, I bet there wasn't.
I bet there wasn't either, but I love where his head's at. And I hope somebody writes some fanfic. Go write some Land of Toth fanfic.
That's already happening, by the way.
Good. Let's do more of it. That
shit is out there, yeah. If you're in Los Angeles right now and it's Wednesday night, fucking come to the Satellite and say hi to us.
Yeah, come say hi to us. We're going to hang out. It should be a really good time. We'll have a Halloween spooktacular for y'all. It should be a great night. Come see Lydia. Come see Ian. Come see me and Spenny. 612-246-4614. If you want to leave us a voicemail, you could do it there. If you want to send us an email, it's hi@whatifpodcast.com. We sell merch and swag and tees and posters at shop.whatifpodcast.com. You can also get a $50 shout out on the show, which is pretty fun if you want to do that. Also, if you want to leave us an iTunes review, those things help us, and we really appreciate them when you do. So head over to iTunes and leave us a review.
We get $20 for every 1-star review.
He's lying.
Hell yeah.
That's not true. Don't do that. Don't do it.
We rich.
Hey, we love you guys. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you want extra episodes, go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast. It's only $5 a month to get an extra episode every week. As always, we love you. We'll see you next week.